Hi guys, Pastor Mark here. Hope you're well as we continue our study this week of Ephesians, and we're at part 66, 5 more to go after this. The armour of God we have been in, and the gospel shoes is where we are moving on to now as we're putting on the full armour of God. Let me just read a few verses first about why we should put on the full armour of God here, because predominantly Paul is talking about warfare and being prepared for the enemy coming at us with all sorts of stuff. He says in Ephesians 6:10-11, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armour of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil." So, of course, you could add these things to what we should do in order to operate in our ministry, but predominantly, this is in order to beat the wiles and the schemes of the enemy in this context where Paul's talking. Verse 14 there says, "Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness," what we spoke about last night. Then verse 15, "And having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace." Having shod your feet. Hupadeo is the Greek word, and it means to bind under one's feet. So meaning we do not walk around loosely with the gospel, where it is easy to slip off, or the truth is easily fallen away, or not to have a firm footing when it's truly needed. And maybe I'd ask is, how many times have you missed an opportunity because you have not had a firm footing in the gospel? It's been loose, it's easily fell off as you go about your day. I've had that many times. You talk to someone and you know the truth. You may have on the breastplate of righteousness, you may even have girded yourself with truth, but unfortunately your actual walk has lacked preparation. In the heat of the conversation, in the midst of the daily routine, you were not standing on firm ground on the word. It was too easily forgotten and pushed aside. How many times have you had to handle an attack, or someone not in the gospel, or even met a mocker, or somebody you may even have history with, and you walk away thinking, I was ill-equipped there. I was ill-equipped to deal with that confrontation. You often sometimes think, you know what, I know they're confrontational, but I was ill-prepared. Why? Well, one of them for sure would have been your preparation of what you stand on would be most likely be tied too loosely, if you like, to your feet. In the daily routines, it just slipped off your feet. And all you're standing on now is the world. When the gospel slips off your feet, when you're not standing on the word, and they slip off your feet, you will end up be standing in nothing but the world, and with no protection, with no solid footing. And how can you ever stand against Satan's attack? How can you ever stand against the schemes and the wiles of the devil without first binding your feet and planting your feet in the word? Therefore, we must be prepared. Hetoi masia, to have readiness, or it could be deemed, and especially in this context, to have readiness of mind. As a young apprentice in the building trade, we were given boots, roughly 2 pairs a year. You would get them at the same time, roughly 2 pairs of boots a year, and we had to wear them. We had no option. We could not go and wear our own boots. We had to wear these boots. However, they were like bricks. I don't even know if they sell these kind of boots now, because the boots now have got all sorts of fancy padding. The leather was so hard. Oh, it was like bricks, and no padding whatsoever. And I used to come home from work as a young apprentice with blisters and grazes, and right up my ankles they would be burns and scratches and all sorts. However, what happens is you start to learn to prepare them. So one of the things you would do is you would, while wearing the other pair, the broken in pair, you would start to prepare the other ones, and you would put them on while not working. I just had a thought there. I remember Paul Washer says a great thing. He studies the word with his boots on and his boots off. So he studies to prepare for preaching, but he also has to study the word to prepare for the daily fight against the enemy. So what I would do is you would put one pair on while you were using the other pair. You You would put them on and wear them around the house and all sorts of things. Even this, no, you might think this is crazy. You'd put them on and, no, because this was, you get taught this, put them on in the bath. So you'd be sitting in a bath with a pair of steel toe cap boots on sometimes. Then you would come out, let them dry with newspaper, put dubbing in them, sometimes cut round the top of them. Just little slits just to make them prepared. By the time the old ones then were knackered, the new ones were already moulded into your feet, and you were ready to go to work. You were ready as if it was just like another day. And how can you possibly, therefore the metaphor is, how can you possibly stand against the enemy and stand in God's word when you are so ill prepared? As I look over my Christian life, I can honestly say I have more regrets of what I didn't say than what I did. Why did that happen? I was not prepared. I was not ready for what was coming at me. Now, often you won't know what's coming. So you need to be prepared at all times. In fact, every day you wake up, you need to get prepared for even the battles you never seen coming. They're the ones that always catch you out. It's easier to prepare when you know it's coming. No, when you know you're going to be facing an enemy and you think, I'm going to have to face this person tomorrow, and you can get prepared. But sometimes the devil will throw a curveball and he'll come at you when you're least prepared. He loves to creep up on you when you're not prepared. And unfortunately, way too many believers are ill-prepared, and therefore, as it says in Hebrews, sin so easily ensnares them because they're ill-prepared. One day off, one moment of a wandering mind, and before long you're walking as a lost sheep without a shepherd, very quickly. And what does the devil do? Well, 1 Peter 5:8 says what he does. It says, be sober and be vigilant. No, and that could be girding your waist with truth. This is that putting on the armour of God, girding your waist with truth, putting on the breastplate of righteousness, then shodding your feet with the gospel shoes. Be sober and vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks around like a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour. You know, and all he needs to see is the devil looks at somebody and says, well, they're not prepared. They look a bit ill-prepared. He's walking about with boots on and he's limping all over the place. He's not even standing in the word. That's who I'm going for. Just like a roaring lion seeks out the weakest wildebeest in the prey. Be prepared. Shod your feet, therefore, every day with the gospel of truth. And throughout the day, I would say, throughout the day, don't just wear them today. I think throughout the day we have to stop and check, because what happens is we can go to our work, we can get into our environment, we can be prayed up in the morning, we can gird ourselves with truth and get through all our readings and all our rituals or whatever it is we do, and then we put on our gospel shoes and we say, right, we're prepared for the enemy. We've got our helmet of salvation, we've got our sword, we've got our shield. And then we go out, and before you know it, we get caught up in the life's battles and all sorts of stuff. And before you know it, you've not bent down and checked that your shoes, that your laces started to get loose again. So I would say it's not just about putting on in the morning. It's like spot checking throughout the day, saying, you know, I have to be prepared here, because you never know what's going to be coming at you, and you want to be ever ready and prepared. So. Because the enemy will be waiting in the wings, and he'll see, no, and I'm using metaphor here, but no, he'll see that your shoes has been unloosed, that you're not standing as strong in the word in that moment as you should be, that you've let loose, you've started to compromise here, you know, a little bit of folding of the hands, a little bit of this, and before you know it, the enemies come in and attack you while you are not ready. So, shod your feet, be prepared for the gospel of peace. Be ready for the enemy always. Okay, guys, see you again tomorrow. Bless you, guys.